All right. Hey guys, this is a weird episode of Flashbacks because we are doing an audio episode. Your boy's been to the Ren Fair, so he kind of ran out of time. Will, have you ever been to the Ren Fair before?
Oh man, so I did like once in middle school, and to be honest with you, I don't really remember much else other than some jousting. But
Right. But yeah.
I'd love to go back though.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Me and Amanda actually dressed up for it. I'm sure you've seen it on social media. But yeah, me and her.
Good pictures.
Oh yeah, yeah. Me and her dressed up. I know that my buddy Trip and Chase are working there now, so we got to catch up with them a little bit. Yeah. He's actually traveling. Me and Amanda were half joking, half serious. And I promise we'll get to the episode. We're just like this while it's on my mind. Yeah. So I'm just gonna be like it's up episode a little bit because we're talking about like personal stuff a little, kinda. Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, like I was talking to her because he travels with the Ren Fair, so this might not even make it in the episode. I'm just talking about stuff. But
Okay, Chase or Trip?
What's up?
Chase or Trip?
Oh, Chase is traveling with the Ren Fair.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, me and Amanda were talking about like it sounds super appealing, but then you think about like for us like the practical part of it, like we would have to probably put our house up or something and then like travel, which it sounds fun, but then you like I would love to do it, but it'd be one of those things you'd have to plan way in advance to do.
Certainly.
Yeah. But anyway, we're here to talk about is it the seventh episode? Yeah. I was.
The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Wrong part.
Oh yeah, right. Somehow Palpatine returned.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get into Star Wars at some point in the future, I feel like. But
we definitely should, yeah.
But yeah, just going off the top, I love that Barry is like thrilled to be robbed by that guy at the beginning. That was really great.
It's like, really, you picked me?
Yeah. He's like, dude, you're sick. Just give me the money. But yeah, I like that though they're doing it for a reason because sometimes you get in like shows like this where a character like they confuse like a character coming to his own for like sometimes it comes across like them being a jackass basically, which I feel like they did this for a reason in this episode kind of thing of having him kind of be full of himself a little bit.
Yeah, he got humbled.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, what do you think about Wells in general, like with the whole I think they're leaning more into the fact I feel like if you're watching this show on its first run, you probably know at this point that Wells is the Reverse Flash, or at least he might be working with him or something.
Yeah, or you've heard us spoil that for you.
Oh yeah. If you're in the future somehow after the first watch through, and you're just like somehow listening to this, one, tell us how time travel is possible, but two, But yeah, like, did you notice Gideon had a different voice in this whenever he was kind of critiquing Barry's performance to her?
I did, yes. That was interesting, for sure. Well, I think it's good that you bring up Wells, because at this point in the show, and let's be honest, really the whole first season especially, the reason people watched this show was Wells, and what was going on and the mystery behind him. That's the real plot that we cared about. The little subplot of Barry and Iris and all this other stuff, no one truly cared about really at this point.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like I will agree that he is a draw to this, and also just I forgot how he was kind of like how cold and calculating he was, even to like their faces at points in this. Like the whole thing, and we'll get into it as we go further through the plot, but the whole thing of like him just not caring about Farouk or anything, and the fact that guy got I feel for him to an extent. Like he was drunk and he like got up on a tower and everything and paid the price for it, and then I don't think I realized at the time, or maybe my brain didn't connect, that his friends were also dead. Kind kind of thing. Like he lived, but like his friends, because it wasn't clear in the beginning. I know they had that scene with the charred body and everything, but
they don't show a lot of his background to really like delve into that for sure.
Yeah. But I like that there was speaking of this while I'm thinking about it, I like that they have two villains in this one, and at first they just don't connect. I think they should do that more, where it's just like your B plot is another supervillain.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would agree. I think trying to think of what his technical villain name is. The electric guy.
Oh, Blackout.
Blackout, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he played his role pretty well. And I always love Robert Knepper's Clock King. I think he has.
Oh, yeah.
He is, like, if there was a true live-action Clock King, and even in a movie, that I think he would be it, man. He's great.
I remember at the time, because I don't have a lot of, or my memories are kind of scattered with the Flash, like my first, like, pardon the pun, like run through of the seasons, but like I do remember it being a big deal that Clock King was coming over from Arrow to the Flash and everything.
Yeah. But one of the first real crossovers before the real crossover in the next episode.
Yeah, it's coming up. Stay tuned.
And I agree. I think this was a good episode all around. I found it. I want to say this very, very carefully. So Barry, at this point, I feel like I'm wanting to see more growth from him,
right?
Or different things to see him kind of grow as a character, which I don't think we've seen so far. But I think we get to that in the next episode. And I think a lot of this just kind of felt like even though there's two villains, and don't get me wrong, they're great. It feels like we're putting this episode here so you have something to watch before next week.
Yeah.
For me. I still think it's a fine episode, but...
Yeah. I think, for me, this might be the first disagreement we have, actually. But, yeah.
That's where I'm at.
But, like, for me, I like, there's, like, a trope, I feel like, and maybe it started in Smallville, I don't know. But, of the main character losing their superpowers and then... like having to deal with like really dire circumstances and not having that extra muscle, basically.
Yeah, which I think maybe Smallville is what kind of soured me on this episode, because that trope, I've seen it so many times now that it's annoying to me.
Yeah.
And I believe we see it later on in the series with Barry again as well, and it's like just...
Yes, that's a big thing, and I thought about... I'm not gonna lie, I thought about that when we were watching it. Be like, man, take a shot every time this dude loses his powers, but...
Yeah.
I did like it in this one, because there were kind of, like, consequences for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But dude, like, I just watched... How many seasons is Smallville? 11 seasons? 11 with the comics, right?
Right.
Yeah. Like 10 seasons of this guy losing his powers like every week with whatever villain of the week it is.
Right.
It's like, come on, man.
And the thing I will say about this versus that is that I'm thinking of one specific example. I don't know if you remember, there was like that episode where he lost, Clark Kent lost his powers and had to get up on that missile and everything. Like he eventually got his powers back, but there was no real consequences really at the end of the day, like for that, unlike with this where Eddie his stock keeps rising for me, man, like every episode. Yeah.
Well, I also think this just shows why shows like Arrow, where even though they missed in a couple seasons, why the longevity for it works, because you don't have the superpowers, right? So there's no stakes that you have to keep topping, and then you have to take the powers away to make them feel more human. Like, he just is a human,
The only thing that Oliver, I'm going to be nice, I was about to make a Felicity crack during that. Like, the only thing blocking Oliver from being a hero sometimes is Felicity.
That's 100% true.
Yeah. Again, we're not doing an Arrow podcast, so I feel like a lot of the Arrow fans probably aren't tuning in, so I feel like we're good. But anyway.
Felicity, yeah.
Yeah. She gets better later. I will say that. She does get better later. They just don't know how to write women on the Arrow show, I feel like.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that fully.
Yeah.
I don't think really in a lot of these shows that they do, other than Sarah,
Yeah, Sarah was great, but I feel
Yeah.
like they kind. Here's my thing with that. And I just thought about this. They kind of write Sarah almost like how they would write like a male character in there, where like they
Yeah.
don't like I don't know how else to say it, but that maybe that's the reason it's good is because they're basically like writing a male character.
Yeah, and I like that. I think because it feels more natural to me. Whereas I might catch some flack for this, but sometimes when they write female characters, like, and I'll give my best example would probably be a Captain Marvel in that movie, right? Where it's,
Yeah,
yes, I'm this strong character, but I'm strong because I'm a female instead of, well, you're strong because you're strong. Like Sarah
yeah,
never had to announce that. You know, that was never really a big point of her character, to my knowledge.
yeah,
What I remember, she was just badass.
yeah. She was just cool. Yeah. That's my thing, and like not just with girls, but like anything. It's like no, just write a character that's likable, that is flawed. Like that's the thing I think that people miss. Is like, and it's across the board too. Sometimes for like male characters too, it's like you'll get this character that's basically invincible and has like no flaws, like Ray Skywalker. That like
Yeah.
that's my thing because like I wish that there's so many things I'd do differently if I was directing those movies, but
Yeah.
like this isn't Star Wars talk, but just as an example, like Luke at the beginning was a very whiny, very kind of selfish character, and then over time grew, had a lot of flaws, and it's like it's okay to write a character that is flawed. I think people are just scared to do it because
Even Anakin, man,
yeah,
Anakin's a character that extremely flawed. Obviously, with a lot of his stuff, you
yeah,
can see the anger and the conflict within him
mm-hmm,
all the way throughout. But you also see, like in Clone Wars and all some of that
yeah,
stuff, some of the good things he does and like the fun parts. You know,
yeah.
just a great character all around.
Exactly. But did you get Parasite vibes from Blackout in this?
Yeah, yeah, to an extent, yes, for sure.
Yeah. I immediately thought about that, like the whole power zapping thing. I'm like, yeah, this is just Parasite except like on a CW budget. I feel like.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I don't know if Blackout is a character in the comics or not. I feel like he probably is.
He's like a lesser Static Shock, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah, like evil Static Shock.
Yeah,
But
I can see that.
yeah, I love that Barry's humbled by losing his powers, and Cisco says he runs slow for a normal person, which I thought was really funny.
I'll get to my issue with Blackout too. I think
Okay.
so. At this point, it's been close to a year since the particle accelerator has done what it's done, right?
Right.
And supposedly this guy has to constantly feed on energy and all these other things. And I know this is silly for me to bring up because it's a CW show, but as a plot hole, it's like, well, where has he been this whole time? Are people just now discovering this after a year of him feeding off all this energy? Like,
Right. Cause
shouldn't there be more there? Think about how many people he's probably killed before.
that's what I was think. That's what kind of threw me off at first, to be honest, is because I thought that charred body, like I just automatically assumed in my head, like, oh, that's one of his victims. I didn't even think like, oh, that's his friend that died.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like they don't really. I feel like they might give you context, but it's very like vague at first until like we get later into the episode.
Because it's not like he wants to kill necessarily. He just wants to live, and
Right.
he has to kill other people to live. Can we also talk about how, and we talked about this while we were filming the last episode,
Right.
about how Barry told Tony his name and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Wells knew that, obviously, and
Yeah.
so and it's pretty cool to see him just get him out of the picture like that, too.
He was standing, dude. Like he was standing up. That was wild. Like the glasses too. Like I kind of in my head, I'm like kind of like evil Clark Kent in a way because he's not wearing his glasses when he's around him and everything. Like we'll get to it at the end too, but like just briefly, like he has that moment where he so Blackout dies in this. Like basically it's sucking up the Flash's powers, and so at the end there's a moment where he kind of like shushes the mist because the mist guy's off to the corner, and like he extracts the DNA to try to steal Flash's powers, which I thought was do we see a scene later when that happens, or is that like I feel like because he uses the time travel stuff later, so I don't know if that plot point
I recall.
yeah
Find out.
It's like most MCU post credit scenes in that there's no follow up really at all to it.
No payoff, yeah.
Yeah, but I love that Clock King's in this one. Like I said before, I think he is one of the right. I wouldn't say he's at the same level as like a Slade or Prometheus or anything, or even the Reverse Flash, but he's probably like B level.
Yeah, had he been given more throughout this whole series, I think we could argue that. The actor is phenomenal.
Yes.
Also from Prison Break.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Have you seen Prison Break before?
All the way through.
I need to watch it at some point. That's our next podcast, guys. Prison Break. Just give me an excuse to watch something.
Locked Up, the podcast.
Yeah. I'm glad that the quarantine is over because I feel like it'd have a different context.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad that that's done. But this is a minor critique, but the glasses I think are meant to look like pieces of like a watch, but they just look kind of goofy.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
I don't think it's super practical, and it doesn't make any real sense for the character. It's cool because it's like, oh, look, this is who this is. You know, the clocks, yay! But that's not a real thing that someone would have.
Yeah, and before I miss it, another really funny moment. They're out of context. Joe just throws Barry's favorite mug and breaks it on the ground, and he's like, "What? Why'd you do that?" It's like you didn't catch it.
That was a funny one, actually.
Yeah, that was great. It's like Joe acting like a cat, just knocking your favorite things over. But yeah, and then I like that Iris, like the little character moment of Iris, without context, looking down, saying, "Oh, it's like Barry's favorite mug." Like I like that she knew that. I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." Did you notice the year on the newspaper? The iconic newspaper, with Flash disappears in Crisis.
2024, right?
Yeah, it's next year.
Next year.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, that's wild. Like, anytime you're watching something, it's like the distant future, and it's like next year.
Yeah, for sure.
And we'll get to it in the future, but I do know that they change the actual date for when that happens because of story reasons later on. But I kind of think they thought they were gonna either I feel like, and this is something we can get to whenever we really get into this in the future, but I feel like they thought that they would either that they would eventually get to that future stuff, and so that's why it's at that date, or two, they never thought they were going to have to get to the future stuff, and it was just some vague thing. I feel like it's probably the second one more than the first.
I would agree. It's a little bit of both, but I would definitely say the second one.
Yeah. And then what did you think of Barry, basically all of his self-worth and everything being tied to his superpowers?
Yeah, man, it's very interesting because I think you see, even at the beginning of the series, that, you know, prior to him receiving his powers, right?
Mm-hmm.
He seems to have this really low sense of self-worth. He feels kind of like unnoticed, like a little speck all around.
Yeah.
And once he gets his powers, you know, he's meeting Harrison Wells, one of his heroes. Like, he's, you know, with all this whole team that kind of depends on him, and that comes with a lot of pressure. It also comes with a lot of ego.
Right.
Stuff like that. And so you feel like that's your purpose, and once you've lost that, you feel like you don't have a purpose, you know?
Yeah, and not to get too deep in here, but, like, I sometimes struggle with, like, my creative stuff, like, tying a lot of my self-worth into that, and then, like, when stuff, like, either I don't have that side to myself, or, like, I don't basically have access to that creative side, I feel, like, less, and I'm working on doing that. Like, I feel like everybody has that, where they tie a lot of self-worth into, like, some nebulous thing that they don't always necessarily have control over.
Yes, and I also feel like that sometimes, which is why you guys should check out our sponsor, BetterHelp.com.
Yeah. We haven't sold out yet, guys. That was amazing. But
It's a perfect segue.
Yeah, that was awesome. I like that. I do like how menacing Clock King is in this, that he holds the precinct hostage, doesn't hesitate to kill some of the cops, and also Love that he immediately clocks, haha, um, that Iris is Joe's father just by looking at them.
Yeah, he's very, very. You see the methodical side of him and the attention to detail, and they really nail that character, I think.
Yeah.
To
And
be honest with you. It reminds me of like Batman animated series Clock King.
oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because like they could have just phoned it in and made him some goofy like nothing character, and he's one of the most serious characters in the entire show. I feel
I
like,
would agree.
yeah,
Like I remember very few villains outside of the main overarching villains from these shows.
right,
But one that sticks out to me is him and like the Count from Arrow originally or stuff like that, stuff like that.
yeah. I also like that. Speaking of Joe, that the quotes that Clock King uses, that he clocks or he picks up on almost every single one of them. Like he, was able to like just rattle off like, oh, it's this and this, and like Clock King is kind of like impressed that he's like really, like almost on the like that he's really intelligent, basically.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I was like, well, I was telling Amanda earlier, I feel like, I don't know if you feel the same way, but I definitely feel like on this second watch through of this first season, that characters that I kind of maybe overlooked, or not necessarily overlooked, like I always did like Joe, and to an extent, I liked Eddie, but like rewatching it, Joe gets some of the best lines and also some of the best scenes, I feel like.
I've always thought Joe was good. Joe and Wills were always the two centerpieces of the show for me.
Yeah.
But Eddie, you're 100% right. I'm appreciating him a lot more. I'm liking Iris a lot less.
Really?
So, yeah. Which is kind of weird.
Let's get into that.
The first time around, but we'll see.
Why do you feel that way? Let's get into that.
Yeah, for sure. No, so I find that she doesn't really have anything to do as a character unless it involves the boys being around or like, Barry and Eddie and all that stuff with that dynamic so far. And she doesn't really, you never really see her want anything for herself and like what she's doing. Because even though she has this blog and all this stuff that she's writing,
Mm-hmm.
We can kind of see, I guess, more or less why she's doing that, but it doesn't feel like Iris is fully herself yet. She's dependent on all these other characters to even have a purpose at this point. And I feel like she's kind of poorly written in that way.
That's totally fair.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that before, but like I think you're right to an extent. It definitely there's like a thing, I don't know if you've heard of it, called like the Bechdel test.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, where like it's if a girl discusses like a guy or something, basically a conversation between two women where like they don't discuss a dude kind of thing, so like it passes or fails based off that. I feel like that's kind of the same thing where it's like only motivated by like what the dudes in her life are doing kind of thing.
Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like with Iris, to be honest.
Yeah.
A lot of the female characters actually I'm starting to see in this first season aren't very well written. We don't get a lot with Caitlin yet at all.
Yeah, and even when we do later, that's its own story, but yeah.
And her whole story is centered around, again,
Yeah.
what the man in her life is doing at that time.
Her dead husband, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, dead. I did quotation marks. I know you guys can't see me this time, but but yeah, I do like that that Wells I love how Wells is standing up and doesn't have the glasses. I already went over that, but
Yes.
I do like that he it's almost like you definitely see in this episode, and especially on the tail end of it, just how cold and calculating Wells is, and how he almost sees everything as like Barry says chess pieces, but I more think like since he's a doctor, it's almost like experiments to him, like, oh, let's see how far I can push this thing over here kind of thing, and see what happens.
Test your hypothesis, the scientific method.
Yeah, because I'm like flipping through it now. He Wells calls him he almost describes him like a lab experiment in his personal journal.
Yeah, I would agree. So I do think he's definitely cold and calculated in a chess kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
But I think because it's been so many years since he started this plan, that at this point he's kind of playing poker to an extent at the same time. He's definitely got a great poker face, and he knows when to bluff and when not to. But he's also not afraid to take some chances or some gambles.
Yeah, like the whole thing, the calculated risk thing with Tony being oh, like how do you know I won't kill you? It's like it's calculated risk.
Yep.
But yeah, I do like that Barry actually confronted him in this episode. Like that was really cathartic for me, even though it's immediately walked back at the end of the episode, which I was kind of the thing with this with a lot of like good stories is like you'll see a character, like you'll be invested in a character, but you'll see them make the wrong decision and just be so frustrated by it, but in their mind they think they're making exactly the right decision because they don't. It's kind of like playing chess when you like with the blindfold on kind of thing. Like you don't know what's actually going on. You're just guessing.
Yeah.
But did you notice the Ralph Dibny mention in this episode?
No.
Yeah. So when Wells was first off, just for context, Wells is about to make the sacrificial move.
No, just stick with it. It's sacrificial.
Yeah, it's a new. I'm changing it. But he's about to fry Team Flash, and then like it seems heroic, but then you realize the only reason that he's like, no, like take me kind of thing is like you said, he's playing poker. Like he's betting that Barry's powers are going to kick in because like in Spider-Man 2 it's more of like a psychological thing to a certain point more than anything. But what did you think of that? Do you like when like stories will first off, I already know the answer. You don't like I'm not a huge fan of it either. I like when there's if you do it, do something with consequences. I'm not super crazy about like we take his powers away for this episode and then like there are zero consequences for it, like
Yeah, because at the end of the day, well, I guess you could say Barry learned more about his powers and the responsibility of them and stuff like that.
Right.
He found some of his self-worth or whatever. I don't feel like there were any real consequences to him losing it, right? Even though at points the characters felt dangerous, so like they were in danger or whatever. I just didn't buy it in this episode that they were really in danger.
That's fair. I know that the whole thing with I do like that one, just to build up before I get to my point, that Eddie like goes in and tries to save them, and then the whole thing of like basically like I will disagree with you on this. I do think that that he made the sacrifice for this for me is that like Eddie got hurt pretty bad and that like some cops died, like we see that shot I think at the end.
He could have if he had his power stepped in and helped in that situation for sure.
Yeah, but I do like like the police precinct being able to figure their way out of it. I like that they use that Joe again being super experienced uses the whole Clock King's sister that he didn't get to see as motivation for like basically for the Clock King to let Iris say bye to Eddie as a ploy so that he can tell her that like the whole like I think that he had like a gun in his like on his leg or something and like he stole it from him. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it really just left me wanting more Clock King. I wish we could have got a full episode with him here.
I think he shows up one more time. I'm not sure about that, but I think this might be his last appearance. I don't remember, but I think maybe he has one more appearance in the future.
Look into that.
Yeah, definitely, because this definitely was a highlight. Because actually when I was watching, I'm like, oh, I forgot that he's in this episode. Like, awesome. And I liked it. Was interesting that like I guess feeding into your whole no consequences thing that you said earlier. I will agree on this. I think that Barry, not only does Barry get his powers back, they're bumped up more. So I'm like, not only did he like lose his powers temporarily, but they came back stronger, which I feel like I'm like that wasn't really earned, but okay.
And that was my issue. I feel like there has to be some type of growth.
Yeah.
I was saying earlier. And I haven't seen the Flash grow at this point. They just gave him a power boost without any of that growth.
Yeah.
But you also see in the next episode, even with power, sometimes, You're, you're not gonna always win if you don't have the experience and the skill.
Oh, I can't wait to get into that next one. But
Yeah. Me too.
that's
That
like
might be one of
up
the more
there.
fun ones that we do. To be
Yeah,
honest.
that's definitely up there. The crossovers are always great. But I do one of the things I know that Joe is also I completely breezed over this, but he is like still having we get like a brief flash of like the reverse flash and everything, like he's still dealing with the fact that like, you know, his daughter's life was threatened in the last one. I do like that they followed up on that a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely didn't feel empty for sure.
Yeah. I will
Some of the other stuff later on.
I will say that I do think that the thing of Barry that changes is that he has like because in the comics the Flash has somewhat of respect for some of his villains, or like there's like a weird kind of respect code thing with his villains. We see this in Justice League when he goes in and grabs the Trickster when he's like, you know, off his meds and everything, and like just like little stuff like that. I like that Cisco tries to name after Blackout is dead, like tries to name him Blackout, and he's like, no, his name was Farouk. Like we're not dehumanizing him by giving him like a supervillain name. Like, you know, he died. Like he feels bad for him,
Yeah.
and it just shows how much even his childhood bully, like he like when he's
For Plastique, of course, they still gave her a nickname, but
yeah, it only lasts for one episode, but
you're right.
yeah, you know what? Fuck it, man. You're right. Like, yeah, I just thought about it. You know what? Fuck this episode, but no, I'm just playing. That the whole thing though, I do like that. Like, he feels bad for like Tony, like a dude that would literally, if the situation was flipped, wouldn't think about him, like give him a second thought, kind of thing. It just shows how human he is. I love when they do that with heroes. 'Cause I think a lot of people when they write superheroes, they forget it's like, no, they have like a lot of compassion for like people. That's the reason they do it. Like they care about even the worst of the worst.
And it was cool to see Tony also get like I don't want to call it a redemptive moment,
Yeah.
you know, to an extent.
Yeah, he was. They had like a little moment there, which was good, where he was just like, "Well, you know me, like I don't run away from a fight or whatever he said. I don't remember."
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I find it interesting, and this is like a bigger point that we'll see with Wells later. But just like speaking about how cold and calculating he is, like the one line that stood out for me this time, I don't know if you also noticed this. He thought that his heroics were slowing the Flash down with you know, getting like the ball rolling kind of thing, and it just shows how different he thinks versus the Flash, that like he thinks like him saving people is like a weakness and like something that is slowing him down a lot.
But also, he's thinking about what he wants at the end.
Yeah, he's a selfish character.
Not that yet, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, and he's a very selfish character, and I think like they're starting. I think the cracks are starting to show a little bit, and that's why he is willing to go to more extremes. I do love the scene where he is in the speaking of going to more extremes, or just him in a desperate place. When at first Barry's powers seem to be gone, he goes and looks, and he's like, find any mentions of the Flash. There's nothing. The article is like different. It's like, find any mentions of Barry Allen. Nothing. I have a problem with that, because I do still feel like even if Barry didn't have his powers, he would probably still be doing like CSI stuff that would get him in the paper occasionally. But you know,
I would agree with that. Yeah.
like whatever. It was, you know, they have to like, you know, churn out these scripts so quickly that some stuff just, you know, seeps through the cracks usually. But yeah, like also I would be remiss not to mention the whole I know you probably died laughing at this. When they go visit Eddie at the end, and he is just so happy to see Barry. Like he's just high out of his mind.
Completely out of his mind. Yes, it was adorable for sure.
Yeah, I'm like, man, like I'm like Eddie might be. I might. Guys, if we ever make merch in the future, there might be a shirt that said
Justice for Eddie.
Yeah, justice for Eddie, or Eddie should have lived. Like
Yeah, I think we need the Eddie cut for season 1, where we just get to see it all from his perspective.
Exactly. Be like, yeah, this jackass tried to steal my, trying to be friends with him. This jackass stole my girlfriend. And he died for nothing.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, spoilers. Do you remember the memes at the time when that happened, by the way, just while we're on it?
Not exactly.
About what Eddie, they were basically just saying Eddie should have gotten a vasectomy instead of, like, killing himself in that moment.
Okay, yeah, I remember that.
But yeah, it's great. Like I was, the whole thing too with Eddie going back to him. I love that like he is just so high that like they don't even hesitate to test the powers right in front of him.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know. Yeah, it was really funny, I guess, to kind of wrap up the episode that way after all that we know is coming in the next episode.
Right.
Where we get to see this really, really cool battle. And by the way, if you guys like battles, you should download Raid Shadow Legends.
We should just start doing fake ads just for fun. It'd be hilarious.
Yes.
But yeah, I like that. I'll tell you what I don't like. I don't like that the Flash is now flirting with Iris. I'm like,
Yeah, that doesn't feel very heroic or right.
it's gross. I'm like, dude, you were doing so well this episode. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, I actually dislike Barry a lot so far in some ways.
He's kind of a dick.
Yeah. You can see that the powers get into his head a little bit, but like we said, he gets humbled later on, so.
Right, he gets. I'll just save it because I will, like, if you guys haven't seen it or just in general, I know we're gonna get into it, so I'm gonna hold off my thoughts.
Yeah, he takes an arrow to the knee.
Yeah, there we go. Antique, got the antique memes in here. Isn't that a Skyrim thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just remember playing that. That took me back. That's like from like 2010. We're not gonna talk about what year it is. We're really old now, guys. We don't want to think about how long ago that was. But yeah, anyway, this was like a really solid episode. I liked it. Like I thought that both plots, I like that they do tie in. I forgot to mention this earlier, but with the whole like Blackout knocking the power out and then like it affecting the hostage situation, I thought that was like a really subtle way to kind of connect the plots together.
Yeah.
And yeah, I like this episode. There is so much to choose from the humor aspect this one because this episode was pretty funny. But I guess I gotta go with the one where Joe just flings or just yeets the his favorite mug onto the ground to test his powers and just doesn't care or whatever. He's just like, dude, that's my favorite mug. He's like, should have caught it. That was great. And then the spectacle would. There was like a few moments in this. I forgot to mention this, but I do like that the Clock King knew exactly the time when if Eddie didn't get attention or medical attention that he would die. Like he wrote it in blood on his head, which is a bit much for me. Like I get the point they were trying to make. I'm like that's a little bit extreme, but I did like the overall vibe. And the spectacle would be for me though probably just like the final electricity battle between the two of them. And that was cool. And then humor, heart, spectacle. The heart would be honestly like thinking about it right now. And I did forget to mention this, but I guess like even though it's a fake sacrifice, the whole like Wells putting himself out there to save the rest of them, I thought that was a good moment, even though we know it's for a very selfish reasons he's doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you?
I think for me, the humor would probably be when Farouk's friends died.
God.
No. I would probably be right at the end with Eddie. When he's just, out of it like that. That was really funny. Heart, you can kind of see Farouk, I think, the way that the characters empathize with him and that he is a villain, yes.
Yeah.
But, he has a sympathetic kind of reason for why he is, more so than I think some of the other villains we've seen.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, Spectacle is obviously that big fight.
Yeah. And yeah. Anyway, I think that this is a perfect time. Whenever you're writing your notes for if you have a podcast, especially a rewatch podcast, you definitely want to rest on a Casper mattress while you're doing all of your work and everything. Casper mattress is great.
Yes, while you're protected by ExpressVPN.
Yes, thank you. All the we haven't sold out yet. We will sell out if you guys give us money though. So just we have no shame. But anyway, this was a great episode. The lightning bolts, that is right. I would give it cuz you did like get me thinking more about like how he doesn't go through like.
You know what? You went first last time. I'm going to go first.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. Go ahead.
3.5 lightning bolts.
That's fair.
That's where I'm at.
That's my.
I still think that the last episode was better for what we've known the Flash to be. This was good. There's just certain things are starting to pile up that I'm disliking about the show.
Yeah.
As opposed to other things. And this episode more so leans into some of those things I dislike. But it gets better later on. And I know next week we're probably both going to say 5 out of 5 lightning bolts. So.
You know what? Fair. I was gonna say you got me thinking more critically about that whole thing, with Barry and his, I guess like he had a minor character arc, but I will say I'll probably give it 3.5 out of 5 lightning bolts as well. I feel like that's a fair score. So while we might have not necessarily agreed with every aspect of this episode, we did find common ground at the end, guys. So
it was still a good episode.
Oh yeah,
there's nothing wrong with it at all.
Yeah,
but it's
you just know what's coming. So yeah. Didn't see that one coming, but oh, sorry, wrong universe. But anyway, yeah. So I'm just going to go ahead, go through all of the places you can find me other than this, and then I'll let you do your thing. But you can check us out here, obviously, and on Flashbacks, the Flash Rewatch podcast, or a Flash Rewatch podcast. You can also find us soon. You will be on the Tangential Exchange coming up pretty soon, so look forward to that. Be fun to get back into that. It'll be your first time on. Will be really fun. Yes. Yeah. And then What Means coming back. I know I said that last time, but it is. And then trying to think if I'm forget. Oh, duh. Night of the Batman with me and Amanda. Like we're gonna keep working through the Court of Owls stuff. And over to you, Will.
Yes, and for me right now, outside of here, you can find me on the It's Up podcast. Something I'm doing with my friend Austin, where we talk about a bunch of nerdy stuff as well as other stuff that's going on in the world and things like that and culture and giving our takes on it. It's a place where anyone can come on no matter what their thoughts, beliefs, opinions are, and we can just talk.
Nice.
People should be able to do these days.
Yeah, cool. So definitely check out his stuff. That's going to be it for us this time, guys. Comment, let us know what your thoughts were on the episode. If you disagree with us, like, keep it respectful, but like, you know, like, just like tell us what you thought about the episode. If you liked it, if you didn't, like, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on it. So anyway, that's it for us.
We'll see you in the Speed Force.
Thank you. We will see you in the Speed Force.